Hey everybody, Lady Steam here. I am so excited to get to tell you about how to put together this really pretty dragon pendant that we've included in our January 2019 box of making. You can see that it's got a layer of acrylic in the middle so you can decorate it and make it as brightly colored or as metallic or whatever you want to do to decorate your dragon pendant. So let me open up the box. We'll talk a little bit about what's in our bag of parts and how you need to get those parts decorated as we get started. So opening up my bag, and we're going to pull out, leave the pieces of hardware on the side. There's not too many for this, but we don't need to open it yet. And what you're going to have in your bag is the face of your dragon, a little wrapper layer. Be gentle with this one when you pull it out. It's got a pretty thin piece in it. A piece of acrylic. Now notice this has got paper on both sides of it. We'll talk about in a second how to unwrap that so you can decorate it. And finally, the back side of your dragon. It'll say steamytech.com on it, so you've got our website. And now let's talk about what we need to do to decorate these pieces. Now this middle layer you want to be really gentle with. You may want to color it dark with a black Sharpie or something so that should any of it show, you can't really tell what's there. It's going to all line up perfectly, but be gentle with it. These two layers you want to sand, color, decorate however you want to decorate them. And then this piece, we're going to use the sun catcher stains that were put in your original box. It says glass stain on the package. It comes with a brush. You may decide for decorating these a toothpick or something even smaller is better. You can peel all of the plastic off simply by using your thumb to get started. As you're doing that, we're going to do this on the side with the lines. Be careful not to get fingerprints all over it. You'll have a little bit of help with the dies to protect you when you do this, but probably want to minimize how many fingerprints you get on it as you prepare it. And then you can simply leave this back layer on it until you're done till we're ready to assemble, or until you're done decorating. If you want to be able to see how the colors come through when you're done with decorating and after it's dried, this is going to take a while, then you can just simply pull the whole back layer off of it. But I'd recommend leaving the back piece of paper on it until you are done decorating. And with that, go play. The one thing to notice is that these lines do line up with the back side of your dragon, not the front, so you'll get a nice smooth surface for the light to shine through on the front of your dragon. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Now that you've finished decorating your pieces for the dragon pendant, let's go ahead and put that together. I'm going to check first what's in our hardware bag. It should have in it 2 silver ball chains. And I'll show you why we needed 2 when we start here in a second. Along with 2 screws and 2 nuts. So this should be a pretty quick thing to assemble. Shouldn't be too hard at all. We're going to start with our back piece and flip it over. And then we'll take that middle ring, and you'll notice that it should fit perfectly here, along with the piece of acrylic that you had with the etched side facing down. So if you haven't already, now's the time to go ahead and peel the back side. And as with the other side, we want to be really careful to not get fingerprints on this piece. I'm going to actually set it over here on my quilt runner for a second. Now, because of the way we're putting this together, we're actually only going to put these 2 screws in. I am going to suggest you may want to put 2 or 3 drops of glue on this to hold these 2 layers together, just to make sure we've got a nice solid connection for this middle layer. So I'm going to put glue all the way around this bottom piece. The challenge then is you want to make sure that you're not deforming the wood at all when you set it down. So set it down carefully, make sure it's lined up nicely, especially at the bottom so that the acrylic will fit in it, okay? Give that a minute to dry. And use a paper towel if you need to go wipe off any excess glue that you got on the inside, because we definitely don't want that glue to show up on your acrylic. That all nice and lined up. And looking stunning. Once that's dry, you can then take your piece of acrylic, the side again that was etched on and that you decorated against, just the side that's going to go face down, should line up perfectly to your lines on your dragon if you started at the back correctly. That should match perfectly. And then we're going to set this piece on and screw it together. If you want to put some glue on it, you can, but I would be really careful and just put a little bit here on this side. And maybe a little bit over here. Leave the bottom alone. You're going to get a screw across the bottom anyway, and put a little bit in the top on the top to hold it all together. And because I've done that and I want to make sure I don't end up with it out of alignment, I'm going to put these two screws in and make sure those screws help with my alignment. Push that down and hold it together, and then I'm just going to take it over, flip it over, and put a drop of glue on these two screws and put my nuts on. So putting this together is certainly the easiest piece, but I think it is the prettiest pieces in this entire project, from my perspective anyway. Make sure those screws are nice and tight so the whole thing is aligned properly on the edges. The other thing you may want to think about doing, if you want to make sure that you don't get scratched on those nuts and those screws at all, is you could put a drop of glue across the top of both of those and just sit and give it 10 or 15 minutes to dry. And that would make a nice soft piece, so you're not ending up with anything scratchy against your skin or against your pretty dresses. So be a little careful with that. And there you've got your dragon. Now we're ready to put the chain on it. And the problem is, if we were just to run the chain through directly, you'd have a problem where you'd have a line of chain against either the front or back, and that wouldn't look pretty. So we've given you two chains here, and I'm going to run one of them from the front backwards with the little ball side. The big piece of the ball chain will not fit through these holes. So then I'm going to take the other chain and I'm going to run it from the back to the front. And now I can take the front of this side and I can connect those two together here. And I can take the back of this side and I can connect these two together here. Now, and it depends at this point what you're planning to do with it and how long you want it to be. From my perspective, it's way too long. So what you can do then is, ball chain is really neat. You can simply cut it anywhere along here that you want to, adjust it to the length you want it to be, and then you just hook your end back in at that point. So adjust the ball chain to the length you want it to be. If you want it to be a choker and you're a small woman or a child, you probably only need to use one chain. But depending on what your size is and how long you want your pendant to be, you may need multiple chains. But at this point, you have a pretty colorful dragon. I'm sure you've decorated it amazingly well, and you're all set to go with your dragon pendant.